So when you're creating a color switch game, there's a few things you need from your inventory. Obviously you need your color tiles, which are in the parkour gallery. As you can see, there's different colors. You've got red, green, purple, white, black, blue. You can use as many or as few as you want. So just make sure you get the floor tile out of each of those at the ready, ready to put into your grid and your game mode. So there's a few things you need from the device section of the creative. So one is the trigger, which is that one, most commonly used one. Then you're going to need a random number generator. And you're also going to need a standard sequencer, which used to be called a music sequencer, which is just on the right of the menu. So that appears in your sort of trap selection, so you'll need to place a floor in order to actually put the sequencer down. You're also going to need, for the color tiles, trick tiles. Again, these go in the trap slot of your inventory, so you can only place these down when you've got something to place it on. Before sorting any of the mechanics, I'd recommend just laying out your grid of tiles, just making sure obviously you've got a nice range of colours. Just dot them around however you want your map, really. Underneath this, you'll also need to place some sort of kill device, so whether your tiles are high enough that you take 4 damage when you drop off, or you'll need a barrier with elimination set underneath it. So somewhere outside your play area, you want to lay down each of your coloured tiles and then put a trick tile on top of each one. And this will be where you work out your settings for the game. So for example, here I've got the white square. I'm going to open up the trick tile. So it's going to be, you want to enable the game to start. Safe team, safe class doesn't really matter. Activation delay, you want as none. Activated at game start, no. Trigger on player contact, no. Those settings don't matter. So you want to set some triggers here. So I've done it as triggering from when receiving from 1 and reset from 2, enable from 2, disable when receiving from 11. And we'll go through why we've got those settings in a second. And then you want exactly the same settings on each of the trick tiles, with the exception of the disabled option. So for this one, on the previous one it was 11, on the red one I've set it to 12, and on the blue one, which we'll see in a second, I've set it to 13. So the next thing we're going to set up is the random number generator. So this is what's going to ultimately choose which colour appears on screen and that you have to get to be safe. So if you lay this down and then open up the settings on it by customize random number generator. So the value limit you want, the first one is 1 and value limit 2 as however many tiles, different colours you've got. So I've put 3 in this case, I'm using 3 in the example. Winning value you want to set to 0, result multiplier to 1. Roll time instant. You don't want to pick each number once, otherwise it'll just cycle through your colours. Reset delay you want set to instant. Award score never. Score type set. Score value to be the roll amount. And then zone, you want this set to forward and 3, so you want that 3 is the number of colours you've got. It just makes life a lot easier if it's that way. Width and height just keep as normal. Want it enabled during all phases. Don't want it to activate on any particular phase, so set that to none. You want it to activate when receiving from channel 3 in this example. So if you jump on it, what you'll see is one of the grids highlight. So in the first square, or part of the random number generator zone, you want to place a trigger. You want this to just be triggered by sequencers only, and you do not want it to activate on any game phase. You want it to be able to set times can trigger infinite, time trigger transmit every 1 trigger, no delays. Make sure it's enabled for game start, and then when triggered set to channel 11 in this example, and that ties in with the white square, so that will disable the white square from trick tiling. And then with a heads up display you want to place this device, put in the message the colour of the tile, so I put white there, which you can see I've lined up here so I know which one's which. In this example I've used it as a 3-second display time, Obviously, you can set your own text and noises, whatever you prefer. I've just done it as these ones. And then show when receiving from channel 11. So when that trigger next to it is triggered, it will say white on screen, and the white title will be the safe one. Now, copy both devices over into the second square, which you can see I've already done here. And then basically all you need to do is just change the triggers, the channels on these. So on the second one, change it to trigger on channel 12. Make sure the HUD is then triggered by that same channel. And that is the one we set to disable the red tile previously. And then obviously do the same again, copy and paste, but change the channel to 13 for both of these, and that will tie up with the blue ones in this example. So now you want to place your sequencer and go over and customize it. So you want to set a few things here. In this example, we're showing it so that when the game starts, it'll go straight away. So you want an infinite loop, 60 beats per minute, length of 10, everything else normal. What that does is that means each square is worth 1 second in this example, so it just makes life a bit easier. Zone direction you want to set to forward, send pulse, zone visible during game doesn't really matter. Pulse direction forward, activate on game phase, game start. So this is just for this example here, which we'll show you in a second, just so you can see how it works when you test it. And then inside the zone, first, right at the start, we're going to place a trigger, and you want it to just be triggered by sequencer. So turn all the others off. Don't want it to be activated in any game phase. Times can trigger infinite. Transmit every one trigger. No delays. Sounds or visuals is up to you. And then what we want this to do is to be enabled on game start, and then when triggered, transmit on channel 3. So what that does is when that's triggered, that activates the random number generator and gives the heads up display messages of which color. And then so 5 seconds in, I've added this, another trigger, so I literally just copy and pasted that one from before, and then change this to when triggered transmits on channel 1. And what that'll do is activate all the trick tiles except the safe one. And again, copy and paste right to the end of the 10 seconds, and then just edit again. You want to change the final trigger to channel 2, and then what that'll do, that'll just reset all the trick tiles, and the process will start again. So let me show you in the test here. Loop, you'll see a few seconds later, the rest of the tiles disappear, and you can see the timer going off over there. It hits the other trigger, resets everything, starts the sequence again. And that will just keep going and going until either the timer runs out or you set the win condition. Of course, when the game starts, you don't want the tiles to start dropping straight away, otherwise no one will be able to do it normally. So what you need to do is on the sequencer, you need to change the activate on game phase to none, and then start sequence when receiving from channel 100, as I've used in this example. And then you need to lay down a separate trigger device, and you need this to be triggered, activated on game start, game phase, game start. Times can trigger once. No delay. Delay you want set to about 10 seconds or more, depending on when you want the game to start after the actual game launches. So as you see here, it's all automated, all set to go now. And the main bulk of the work now, the sort of most time-consuming bit, is you'll need to add each of those trick tiles to your grid with the same settings you've set up here. So whatever the trick tile says on the white one, all the white ones on your grid will have to have the same. Same with the red, and so on and so forth. So that does take time because you can't copy the trick tiles directly. So in your My Island settings, there's a few things you want to set. So under game, you just want teams free for all, team size 1, spawn limit, that's to be 1. Total rounds, set as many as you like. Odd number works better. And then time limit, you either want to be high or off. And then everything else in terms of win conditions to off, except last standing ends game, which you want as on. And then what that means basically is when someone dies, they're out of the round. The last person standing in the round wins that round, and then overall, whoever wins the most round wins the game. And that is all.